So in today's lesson, we're going to look at how you can convert fractions, decimals, and percents. So let's take a look at our first example. How do I convert a fraction to a decimal? Well, I have this little chart that I made over on the right in case you've forgotten the rules for converting fractions, decimals, and percents. So I'm going from a fraction to a decimal, so I will be dividing. And the rule is to take the top number and divide it by the bottom number. So I'll take out my calculator and I'll take 1 divided by 5. And I'll get 0.2. So 1 divided by 5 is 0.2 as a decimal. All right, so for our second example, we have a whole number with a fraction. So my 4 is going to be my number that goes before my decimal, and then I'm just going to take 2 divided by 3. And I'll get 0.6666, a repeating decimal, and so I'm just going to write 4.6 repeating. So for my next example, how do I convert a decimal to a fraction? Well, if we forgot the rule, let's take a look at our chart. We're going from a decimal to a fraction. How do I say? So I have say it. So for example, how do I say 0.2? 0.2, we say 2 tenths. So write 2 all over 10. And now just simplify that and you'll have 1/5. For our next one, we have 4 and 55 hundredths. So my 4 is my whole number before my decimal. And I'm going to place 55 all over 100, and now I'll simplify that. So 55 divided by 5 is equal to 11. And 100 divided by 5 is 20. So my answer is 4 and 11/20. So in our next example, how do I convert a decimal to a percent? A percent is a decimal that has been multiplied by 100. So to change a decimal to a percent, you multiply by 100. So if I take 0.2 and I multiply that by 100, I can just move my decimal place 2 places to the right, and I will get 20%. Now make sure once you've multiplied it by 100, when you put that percent sign on it, it means that it has been multiplied by 100. So 4.55 times that by 100, and I'm going to have 455%. So then how do I convert a percent to a decimal? Well, remember in the last example, to go from a decimal to a percent meant that we multiply by 100. So we do the opposite. When I go from a percent to a decimal, I'm going to divide by 100. So remember, there's always a decimal point after a number if you do not see the decimal point. So I'm going to move my decimal place 2 places to the left, meaning that I have divided by 100. So 20% is the same thing as 0.2. All right, for our next example then, I've got 0.25%. Well, here's my decimal, and again I'm going to be divided by 100, so my decimal place will go 2 places to the left, so I've got to add a 0 there, giving me 0.0025. Okay? So for this example, we're going to look at how you convert a percent to a fraction. So let's take a look. I have a percent to the fraction, which means part all over whole, which is a fraction, is equal to percent all over 100. So basically what that means is that 20% is the same thing as 20 all over 100, or 20 out of 100. So the rule for that is that you take your percent and you put it all over 100. So now, if I've got 20%, I'm going to take 20 all over 100, and then I'll simplify my fraction, giving me, divide the top by 20, divide the bottom by 20, give me 1/5. So 20% is the same thing as 1/5. Well, 25%, the same thing. I'm going to take my 25 and put it all over 100. It's 25 out of 100, which is equal to then divide the top by 25, divide the bottom by 25, giving me 1/4. And for our last example, how do I convert a fraction to a percent? To go from a fraction to a percent, I'm going to use my part to whole is equal to percent all over 100. So I'll have 1/5, that's my part to my whole, is equal to my percent all over 100. And now you can either look at this as what times 5 is equal to 100, or you can do the cross multiply and divide. Either one's fine. 5p is equal to 100, divide by 5, and p, our percent, is going to be 20. Now, because I was solving for percent, you have to make sure that you remember to put your percent sign on there. Alright, so for our next one, how do I change 4 2/3 into a percent? Again, it's our part to our whole is equal to p all over 100. I'm going to turn this into an improper fraction, and then I can, so I've got 12, so I've got 14 all over 3 is going to be equal to then p all over 100. So again, I'll take 3 times p is 3p is equal to 1,400, because I multiplied 14 times 100. So now I'll take out my calculator, and I'll take 1,400 and divide by 3. And I'm going to get 466.6, maybe repeating, it's got a decimal, percent. So there you have it. A bunch of examples on how to convert fractions to decimals to percents.